Building your personal brand, escaping the trap of being invincible, is actually fairly simple. I guarantee if you are finding it hard, you are overcomplicating the process. And so for me personally, I finally went away from working endless hours on trying to create content, but still managing to somehow not post and therefore not making any sales, post consistently, build a super niched audience and make 20k last month. When I stepped back, I stopped trying to be smart and broke down the entire process. I got out of my own way. And so in the next couple of minutes, I will explain you a universal 4-step principle, and I don't care where you're from, I don't care what kind of business you run. I guarantee you, if you follow this process, you will build your personal brand successfully. It's basically impossible and you'll see why. But if you can't commit yourself to watch this video, take notes and actually execute what I'm about to tell you, then this entire content thing isn't made for you. You've got to give yourself a chance. And so the first step of this process is to pick a format. Pick a way of creating content. Now actually let me elaborate on this, because everybody keeps asking me, Finn, what is the best way of posting content? What is the best format to actually succeed with this entire content thing? Look, there is no best content format. The best one is the one that you actually commit to and actually have fun creating. And trust me, no matter what kind of coach will tell you that there's this one format that ultimately works for you, they're probably gonna sell a course to you, and that is probably the reason why they are telling you that there's this one solution to everything. However, there are some criteria that we can actually apply to find the format that works for ourselves the best, because obviously every content format works, all right? I know a person that makes 100k a month with just green screen videos. I know another person who's doing way more with cinematic content, but I know the other way around, it probably won't make any person any kind of money, because they are both super good in the way they are making content, because they love the way to do this type of content. And so we've got a selection of content formats that we can actually use. And so you've got to find a format that actually looks like play to you, but looks like work to others. Because if you can be easily copied, then chances are high your format isn't really something special and your content won't really stick out, because if everybody can create it, nobody will really care. So find a format that you actually love doing, that looks like play because you're so obsessed with the process of creating it, and chances are high other people aren't, and therefore it's really hard to copy you. I actually wrote this down here. The person who enjoys walking will walk further than the person who wants the destination. And so we all want the destination, right? But the goal itself isn't what makes you successful, right? Because everybody has a goal, but obviously not everybody's successful. So that can't be the answer to that. And so we need to find a format that you actually enjoy doing, because if you actually enjoy walking, but also the destination, you're going to become a very powerful person in that kind of space. And the crazy thing about this, you are going to gain a competitive advantage without even having any kind of skill as of right now for doing content. But now, everything I have to say, choose a format that you don't hate working on, that you don't hate creating, because if you do, you are already stacking the stack against you. For example, for me, I love just sitting in front of the camera, having everything look nice, because I feel more comfortable in front of the camera. And I know if I feel more comfortable in front of the camera, then this is obviously gonna do me a favor, because if I speak with more conviction, I obviously sound more like I know what I'm doing. And at the end of the day, this is what we all want. So if you feel comfortable with doing it, this is probably the best for you. So now that we have found a format, whether that's raw talk, high quality content, reactions, whatever it may be, what do we do next? Now we need to find the inputs that we actually can work on a daily basis in order to get those results. And of course, for building your personal brand, it's creating content. But how does the first input look on creating content? You need to identify that, because everything after that builds on that. And if the first step, if the first input doesn't really work, if it doesn't really make sense, if it doesn't really bring you towards the goal of building your personal brand, then obviously it doesn't bring you anything, all right? We optimize for the inputs and the outputs will be a byproduct. We can't control them, but we can control the inputs, we can control how many videos we record, we can control the quality of the content, we can control what we say in the content. We need to know which buttons we need to push in order to build that personal brand. And so here's the entire workflow that I personally use, that I personally have enjoyed the most, that my clients are also using on a weekly, daily basis, that has basically allowed them to also work on the main business, because at the end of the day, chances are high if you want to build your personal brand, it's because you already have a brand, it's because you are already someone, you just want to be more seen on social media. And on the other side, you also have a real business that you want to work on, and you can't spend all day long doing random shit and hope that something sticks. Volume negates luck, but obviously we are not able to have this kind of volume, right? And the one thing that I will always say is guaranteed to help you is to block out 3 hours hours a day to work on content. And yes, you heard me right. I was just saying, well, you don't need to, or you shouldn't spend like endless amount of hours on content, right? But in proportion of what personal branding, what content actually does to you, 3 hours is super low, all right? Think about it. I personally believe, and I proved it for myself, personal brand is the solution for every kind of problem that you have in your business, all right? It took me super long to actually come to that point, but think about it. Let's say you have an info business, all right? And you hate your business. You feel like you're burning out, and the reason why you're feeling burned out is because, you keep micromanaging the team. Nobody really listens to you. You feel like nobody basically respects you in the business and everybody is doing shit, all right? Let's say you have an info business and you have coaches that coach your clients, and you have appointment setters, you have editors, whatever it may be. You hate your business, all right? Because you don't pay them enough, okay? Or let's say they don't respect you because at the end of the day, you can build a lot of team culture, everything, but if they can't pay their bills as they want to, or if they can't live their life because they don't have the financial funds, then there's nothing that can compensate that. And so you're not paying them well enough. And why are you not paying them well enough? Because you are already doing great revenue, but your business is not doing enough profit, all right? Like otherwise you're not making any bread, and you're not doing enough sales because your marketing is bad. And therefore, if your marketing would be better, which is your personal brand, then all those problems would be solved. And the even better part is with the personal brand, also, if you have a lot of more followers, people will actually want to be in your, or like part of your business because they know you, because they know who you are, because they know your persona, all right? And people will come to you as like me. I don't have to worry about editors because I keep, and everybody gets it, but I just want to prove a point. Like I don't have to search for editors. I don't have to search for XYZ because I know they will come to me. And this is what I have actually come to a conclusion. What they will also see is the future with you, all right? I had an agency, or I still have an agency, and I kept losing editors back then to one of my competitors' agencies. And I kept asking myself, oh, why is this happening? Why is, even though I'm paying them the same, or even though I'm paying them more, why is it still happening that they certainly don't want to work with me and my clients anymore, but with the other agency? And so I asked them, I had a lot of calls where I actually interviewed them, oh, why are you leaving me? And it always came down to the opportunity and how they run their business. And the person who was running the agency had a way more successful personal brand, and therefore way more bigger clients that they could work on, and therefore way bigger case studies. And they knew that they had money and there will never be a problem with that, all right? And so the entire authority, everything in your business is related to your personal brand. It's not just like it has been in the last 30 years where marketing is a part of it and the product. No, if your personal brand sucks, if you basically don't have like a social media appearance, nobody's really, in this day and age, is gonna respect you. Nobody really knows you. And yes, of course, you can build a business within 30 days with word of mouth or like different kind of advertisement, all right? And you can build your name. But with the personal brand, with the organic personal brand, it's easier than ever to actually make sure that everybody knows you, that your authority is where it should be, and that your entire team respects you, and that you make the money that you should make, all right? That's just what I wanted to get off my lips. And let's actually come back to the workflow. Now that we have the 3 hours blocked off every day, because we acknowledge that it's actually the one thing that we should focus our time on, because we obviously want to get to that goal. This is how I would actually structure it. Okay, let's say you are working 6 days a week. So you are actually able to get 1 or 2 times of this workflow in your week. And this is already 90% of the homework. So the first thing you actually want to do is the research part. And so what do you do in the research part? You either use a tool, you either do it manually, it doesn't really matter. You research your competitors, what they are talking about. You read certain books. You do whatever you need to do in order to make content, in order to say things, in order to be ahead of your competitors. And so the one thing that you actually need to focus on in the first part is just making sure that you can say things in your content that nobody else can. Whether that's like checking your competitors and getting inspiration, but also then reading books and getting information that basically no one in your space can say. It's easy to fall into this hole of doing research where you just copy others and don't really understand why they are even like performing, and then you just copy it and then you don't perform. And the reason for this is basically because if, for example, let's say you see a video of Alex Hormozi talking about why should you not show a Lamborghini in your content. It performs well, and you just copy the script 101. So there's several reasons to why it's not working. First of all, it's not working because if it went viral, we already maybe have heard it. If we heard it again, we are just seeing you as a copy. And the second part is you are not understanding why people are listening to Hormozi. You are listening to Hormozi because he has broken the Guinness World Record for selling the most non-fiction books in the first 24 hours. He has so many things that state his credibility that even if he sat on a toilet, was shitting and was telling you on why 100 people are winning against a gorilla, people would watch it. And this is the most underestimated part, credibility. It doesn't even have to be the person, it can be the surrounding, it can be the clothes, it can be the way they are dressed, it can be the way they are looking, the way they are speaking, it can be anything. And there's going so much more into actually saying the right things. Your aura is everything. If you don't have aura, you're gonna lose in the content game. And so you need to understand what are the things, and this is what you are doing in the research, what are the things that I can show that nobody else can show, that state my credibility, what are the things that I actually can say that no one else is saying, so that I don't sound like a copy and people actually get an epiphany moment when they listen to me. All right, and so the second day you want to do is the scripting, because I personally think you shouldn't really do the research and the scripting in one day. You obviously can do that, but I just like to write down my points of what I want to say in the video, like the idea. And once I get to the scripting, probably 60 or 70% is gonna fall off because I realize, well, it doesn't really speak to my ICP idea. You know, like this doesn't really make sense, this doesn't really make sense. I actually need to change the entire approach. So you allow yourself to actually rethink things, because when we are in the research part, we get a lot of dopamine. And this is like a trap a lot of people fall in. They get a lot of dopamine and they just write off things because it feels good. And you actually need to allow yourself to lower your dopamine and actually have a wider perspective on that. And so the third thing is recording. Now, recording also one entire day, you don't want to, as me right now, you don't want to spend a lot of time on creating content or recording it, and the best way is to just block off time where you record. Now, actually, I could elaborate on that, but the fourth day, and this is like depending on what kind of business you run, the fourth day would be the post-production. Now, if you have an entire team where you just need to upload the files, obviously that can be done within the third day. If you are not running with an entire content team, you obviously have to add another day. And so this is the entire workflow. And so now we are coming to the third point, which is actually how to build a personal brand that actually feels unique. All right, I actually went to those things already, but I'm gonna go into way more detail now. So if you actually haven't understood it yet, okay, how can I actually be unique and how can I actually make sure that people want to watch me, then listen up, because this is the most important thing. And your camera quality can look the best, your sound quality can be the best, everything can be on point. If you don't understand this thing that I'm about to tell you, then it probably won't work for you, all right? And so there are two things that you actually need to take care of. It's the point of view and your arena, all right? Your battlefield, whatever you want to name it. And so most creators ignore those 2 points, which is why their content looks exactly like the same. They all have the same fucking guru wall in the background, and it just sucks. All right, it just sucks, and it's because they don't understand those 2 things. And so the first thing is the point of view. Now, what is the point of view? Actually, we all know what it means, but what does it mean in this kind of context? It is how you see the industry. It is how you see the entire things that are being spread. Because the truth is, every possible advice is out there for everything, and everybody has said something that you want to say. And this is where most people fail. They just repeat what already had been said in a like advice way, and nobody really cares anymore. And you are just repeating something that someone else has said. And so you recycle popular opinions and you copy what already works for others. And this is why it feels so replaceable, because it basically is. So the easiest way to actually get ahead of this and actually escape this trap is to ask yourself, what do people in my space get wrong? And what advice do I completely disagree with? Because this is a very extreme, all right? Again, if you are here watching, it's probably because you already have built something, so you already have the expertise. You just need to identify the things that you can talk about that don't let yourself sound like everyone else, okay? And so this is the easiest way to actually to write down things that you want to talk about that haven't really been said in this way. And so it allows you to really make sure that you are unique. And so the easiest way to develop a stronger point of view is to just write down those things, pay special attention to the challenges that you see with like the normal value, and also turn those ideas into content pillars, all right? There's plenty of ways on what is a content pillar, but basically it's just things that you're constantly repeating inside your content, so people get to know you for the person that has done XYZ, that thinks XYZ, and that is selling XYZ. You just want to make sure, okay, what are the things that people are remembering me for? And from there, is really easy. And if you feel like, okay, I don't really have a strong point of view, there are actually a few things you can do. First of all, the easiest way is just to look outside of your niche, because if you, for example, are a fitness coach, you can go into the cinematic path and you can take inspirations from ways of doing content and you can implement them for yourself. The second thing is like you can give off the value, and I think Minoli is the perfect example of this. You can give away super digestible and super surface level advice if you package it in storytelling. The way he does it is he tells a story, and by the end of it, he's saying, I came to the conclusion that I have noticed that when I get rid of all those things in my daily habits, in my daily life, I will sleep better. So it's not really preachy. He tells you the story. It basically tells you why he came to that conclusion. And then you remember, oh, well, once I did that, Minoli is the reason for it. And so the second part of being unique is your arena. And so while your point of view actually defines how you think, the area defines who you speak to, all right? Because the truth is, the broader your arena is, let's say if you are like a businessman and you're talking about business marketing, mindset, success, you're like theoretically talking to a lot of people. But when the message is general, nobody really feels a connection to it because you don't really relate to anyone. You keep it surface level and you relate to no one, and you're also not really an expert for everything, right? And so strong personal brands actually do the opposite. They first focus on a very, very specific niche. As I'm doing it, I'm targeting only successful business owner who don't have the time but actually want to tell their story, who know that they can make an impact on the world and who actually want to prove themselves that they are not just a one type of success, but actually can replicate it. And so think of it like this. Instead of trying to reach millions of people, try to reach only a few people that you strongly relate to, and this smaller group will resonate with you way stronger and will get your message way better. And so the easiest way to actually sharpen that when you don't know, okay, how to actually niche down, is you talk about fewer topics, speak to one clear audience, solve one type of problem. For example, instead of talking to entrepreneurs, you are maybe talking to e-com founders, you are maybe talking to agency owners or people creating personal brands. And so a simple test you can test if you are actually already niche down enough is to ask yourself, I create content for about. If you can answer that in a one sentence, then you're probably cooked. For example, if you say, I talk about marketing, it's too broad. Nobody will care. If you say, I have online businesses who are stuck in the content workflow to create short form content, that's way better, right? And so to actually underline my point on why you should only focus on a small audience is, let's say you are creating content for a very niched audience. People are gonna resonate with you so much that they are more likely to share, right? If somebody resonates with you, they're gonna like, they're gonna follow, they're gonna comment, they're gonna share, and they're gonna save. And all those things are basically buttons that the person is pushing in the algorithm that makes sure that you are being shown to more people. People will talk about you more and you will actually become someone at least. And then from there you can always build later. And so now we're coming to the last point, and this is like my bread and butter. This is the one thing I always talk about, and this is what I also love and why I'm personally so in love with this entire thing. And it is the branding layer. Okay, what is the branding layer? When it comes to building a personal brand that actually stands out, there are two things that are more important than everything. It's not the algorithm, not the frequency, but your standard and your visual identity. Because most creators aim to post content, all right? To post consistently, but the best creators aim to set the benchmark. Instead of asking, how can I upload something today? Ask yourself, how can I make the best possible video made on this topic? And that shift alone changes everything. Because average content just disappears in the feed immediately. Think about it, you don't like average, you don't share average, you don't watch average, and you don't come back for average, and you definitely don't follow average, all right? What really matters is the content that feels like it is completely different to everything that they have basically ever seen. And this doesn't mean your content always has to be perfect, because then you procrastinate. It means that you should always hold yourself to a high standard, because immediately and subconsciously your quality baseline is being kept to a different level. And over time, that compounds into reputation. People start to associate your brand with depth, clarity, and quality. And now we're coming to how to create a recognizable visual identity, all right? Because the truth is, especially in short form content, we are being judged in milliseconds, all right? Whether we want it or not, we are all being judged in milliseconds. And before someone hears your message, before someone knows who you are, they see the video. And that's why strong personal brands create a visual style, because if you liked someone's video and next time you see their video but everything looks so different, you won't see it, you won't watch it, all right? You won't give it a chance, because obviously we're all fried in our brain. But if we directly know that this is the same person that has made the video that we loved, we're gonna watch it because we feel like, oh, this is a great investment of my time. And so you need to find something that actually makes you feel instantly recognizable in your content feed. And this could be a special camera setup, this could be a special location, editing style, way of dressing, all right, way of talking, it could be everything. And the goal is simple: when somebody scrolls, they should already know it's your video without seeing your name. And so here's the last thing that I will say in this video. Strong personal brands don't just communicate ideas, they create a recognizable experience. They come from two things: a high standard for the quality in your content and a high standard for the value in your content. When you combine those two things, your content will 100% be seen as different and people will stop scrolling, and then there's no reason why you should follow like a certain hook framework or scripting framework, because all that doesn't matter if you don't have aura. And this is how to be consistent and actually get aura. My name is Finn. I hope you enjoyed the video. Now, if you actually have write down those things, actually execute, thank me later. If you have any type of questions, just let me know in the comments or on my social media. It's the same name as here. And otherwise, we see us in the next video. Take care.